Thank you very much for joining us today at our California Transportation Commission special meeting of June 30th, 2021. Douglas, could you please read the instructions for public comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome to the special June 2021 virtual meeting. We thank you all for your time today. We apologize that this meeting had to come up out of the ordinary, and we appreciate you being here with us today. The CTC exists to make transportation planning, funding, and policy more understandable and accountable. Our meetings normally take place in diverse locations around the state so that commissioners can see firsthand a variety of infrastructure issues around California. However, containment measures surrounding COVID-19 have required us to adjust to a webinar format. Please bear with us should we encounter any technical challenges. The agenda for today's meeting is located under the Handouts tab and can be downloaded and saved during this webinar. It can also be found on the Commission's website. Live closed captioning is being provided in the webinar for this meeting as well. The link to view the live captions can be found on our meetings page under the June 30th meeting heading. Commissioners, should you have any questions or comments during the meeting, please let us know by raising your hand or otherwise get our attention on your camera and wait for the chair to call on you. You can also send inquiries and comments through the questions tab that can be read to the presenters and the audience on your behalf. Please mute your microphone except when you intend to speak to minimize outside noise and feedback. The chair will do her best to call on each of you in turn. We hope that you will turn on your camera while speaking if you have one. Because this is not an in-person meeting, every vote will need to be a roll call vote. Staff will group items for votes to help save time. Not in this case, unfortunately. We'll take each item independently. Please only speak when called upon. When called upon, please state your name and briefly make your point. I would please ask that no one speaks a second time on any one item until everyone who wishes to speak a first time has done so. Presenters, if you're on the agenda to make a presentation, please do your best to be succinct. We hope that you will also turn on your camera during your presentation if you have one. Members of the public, we welcome comments from the public as part of each item at this meeting. We encourage you to use the raise hand feature as early into the item as you can to give the system time to acknowledge you. For participants joining us through the GoToWebinar system, please find the webinar panel located to the right-hand side of your screen. There you'll find Audio, Questions, and Handouts tab. Under the Audio tab, attendees will have the choice to listen via computer or telephone. Should you prefer the computer audio, please ensure the appropriate box is selected. If you choose the phone call option, select the corresponding box, dial the phone number, access code, and audio pin as directed by the automated system. Please note that if the audio pin is not entered, you will remain in listen-only mode and will be unable to speak to the Commission should you have a comment. As a reminder, each registered attendee is provided with a unique link and phone number to access the webinar. These cannot be shared with other participants as they are registered to a specific attendee. There are two options for participants to provide comments on the agenda item. Click the hand icon to indicate you wish to make a comment. You will then be unmuted and called upon to make your comment. Please be sure to state your name and affiliation prior to voicing your remarks. Alternately, you may use the Questions tab, type in the agenda item number you are commenting on and your comment. Commission staff will read the comment on your behalf. Please do your best to be concise with your comments. Please also make sure that your comments add new information. If you agree with comments of a previous speaker, simply make that statement. Since we often have many speakers, we ask that you make your point in 3 minutes or less. If for some reason we have many speakers on a topic, we reserve the right to limit comments to 1 minute if needed. A timer may be displayed on screen during public comments. You will not be able to be on camera while making your comments. Thank you for joining us today. We know that your time is valuable, and we appreciate you sharing some of it with us.
Thank you so much, Douglas. Now, for item 1, could you please read the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Alvarado.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Eager. Commissioner Eager?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Grisby? Commissioner Guardino?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Inman?
Here.
Commissioner Kehoe?
Here.
Commissioner Liu, Commissioner Martinez.
Present, and my video's not working, so my apologies. I'm on my
No
phone.
problem. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Tavaloni.
Here.
Chair Norton.
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Douglas. And with that, we're going to go to item 2 as presented by Jose Oseguera.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and members of the public. Item 2 is an action item. This item contains 5 negative declarations and 5 mitigated negative declarations as follows. The Fish Creek Fish Passage Project, the South Lake Tahoe Safety Project, the I-5 Permit Load Mobility Improvement Project, the State Route 1 and State Route 84 Structures and Scour Mitigation Project, the State Route 1 Traffic Operation Systems Improvements Project, the U.S. Highway 101 Cordilleras Creek Bridge Replacement Project, the State Route 9 Post Mile 1.0 and 4.0 Permanent Restoration Project, the Morrow Road Soldier Pile Wall Project, the South Madera 6-Lane Project, and the I-210 San Gabriel River Bridge Hinge Replacement Project. Caltrans determined that environmental impacts could be reduced to less than significant levels. Staff recommends your approval.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for approval?
This is Commissioner Alvarado. I'd like to make a motion to support staff recommendation.
Tavaloni, second.
Okay, Douglas, could you please read the roll?
Commissioner Alvarado,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Eager,
Aye.
Commissioner Grisby, Commissioner Guardino,
Aye.
Commissioner Inman,
Aye.
Commissioner Kehoe,
Aye.
Commissioner Liu, Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Tavaloni,
Aye.
Chair Norton.
Aye.
Chair, the motion is approved.
Thank you very much. And now we'll move on to item 3. Jose?
Sure. Item 3 is an action item. This is the final EIR for the Tier 1 Big Sur Bridge Rail Replacement Program and the Tier 2 Garrapata Creek Bridge Rail Replacement Project.
Ooh, that's fancy.
Caltrans adopted a statement of overriding considerations, finding that the benefits outweigh the impacts. Staff recommends your approval.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for approval?
Tavaloni, move it.
Okay.
Second.
Tavaloni moves, Davis seconds. Douglas, can you please do the roll?
Commissioner Alvarado,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Eager,
Aye.
Commissioner Grisby, Commissioner Guardino,
Aye.
Commissioner Inman,
Aye.
Commissioner Kehoe,
Aye.
Commissioner Liu, Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Tavaloni,
Aye.
Chair Norton.
Aye.
Chair, the motion is approved.
Thank you so much. And now we'll move on to item 4. Jose Oseguera, one more time.
Sure, no problem. Item 4 is an action item. This is the final EIR for the State Route 1 auxiliary lanes. Caltrans adopted a statement of overriding considerations, finding that the benefits outweigh the impacts. Staff recommends your approval.
Okay,
Motion to approve, Martinez. Second by Inman.
thank you. I just want to ask if we have public comment on item 4. Justin?
Yes, Chair Norton, we do have public comment at this time on item 4.
We will hold the Martinez and Inman motion on the table until we conclude with public comment. Let's begin.
We have one written comment at this time, comes from Bob Morgan, who writes, I want to ask commissioners to vote no on item 4, 6, and 7. Thank you.
Is that the only public comment?
Yes, that is the only public comment I see at this time. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I think he might want to make a statement, but didn't know how. Mr. Morgan, we can unmute you. You should be
Oh,
unmuted and free.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. No, I didn't know how to make a public statement. And again, I urge the commissioners to vote no on item 4. I am a resident of Santa Cruz County. The Tier 1 highway EIR is within, I live within that project area. I do not believe that adding auxiliary lanes will at all help traffic during peak commute times, nor do I agree with the classification of the auxiliary lane as a hybrid bus on shoulder lane. It is not a dedicated bus on shoulder lane, and the bus will be in traffic on that auxiliary lane, as will all other cars on Highway 1 today. So please vote no. I do not believe the EIR should be used to have the commissioners vote yes on this item. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Stolarski and Jose, can you talk a little bit about what was presented in terms of where the bus on shoulder will be? And then we'll take up the motion on the table from Martinez and Inman.
Sure, Madam Chair. I would like to invite actually today, and I am pleased to have with us, we have Tim Gubbins, he's the District 5 Director, as well as Laura Bertana, Senior Environmental Planner for District 5. And they are here today to answer questions. So Laura, can you please come on board and discuss this issue with us?
Sure, happy to.
Go ahead, Laura.
Okay, so the bus on shoulder element of this project is we would be constructing 12-foot shoulders between the off-ramp and the on-ramp of an intersection, an interchange. So it would the buses would be allowed to operate in that only the buses would be allowed to operate in the shoulders in that section. When a bus came off the shoulder, it would have to merge into the auxiliary lane and use the auxiliary lane until it came to the next off ramp, at which time it would then merge back to the dedicated bus shoulder lane. Sorry.
Thank you. And Mr. Gubbins, did you want to speak to how you felt that this would be an improvement to the congestion on this corridor?
Yes, I was going to just give a little bit of information. So thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Tim Gubbins, Caltrans District 5 Director. You just heard a reference to a Tier 1, and I just wanted to clear that up. We had made a decision on this EIR to write a separate document. This is the State Park to Bay Porter project. It's different from the TSM alternative. We had done a corridor-wide Tier 1 document that looked at HOV and a variety of options. This was not that project. Because we had a lot of input on that project to add bus on shoulders. And so this project does not include some of the ramp metering. It does include bus on shoulder using the aux lane, and then in between interchanges, they will be able to use it. We also have a pedestrian overcrossing included in this. And I just wanted to make sure that I know there's a lot of things happening in the corridor, and I wanted to make sure the commission was clear on what we were talking about with this document today.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other public comment, Justin, or any other presenters wishing to speak on this item?
I see no other attendee at this time indicating they wish to make comment either through a hand raise or through a written comment. However, we do now have individuals raising their hand indicating they wish to make comment. Up first, we have Joe Jordan. Joe, you are free to unmute yourself and make your comment.
All right, got unmuted there. Thanks. So let's see. I am urging that the commission stop this project in its tracks. It goes against all the supposed objectives: congestion relief, safety, and vehicle miles traveled reduction. None of that will result from this project. It's or very minimally compared to the expense, the incredible expense and disruption for a few years. So I actually just got into this meeting late, so I kind of don't know where we are or who else is speaking, but I'm going to keep it short for now. I'll probably try to talk again if there are other opportunities with something more specific, but it fails on all of the, purported criteria. So please nix it now. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Up next, we have Guy Preston.
Hi, I'm Guy Preston, Executive Director of the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission. I would like to thank the Commission for including the Watsonville to Santa Cruz multimodal corridor project as part of the adopted Cycle 2 SB1 Solutions to Congested Corridor and State and Local Partnership Programs, as well as the STIP. In 2016, Santa Cruz County became a self-help county when a supermajority of our voters passed Measure D. Our commission took an approach to identifying multimodal investments for this critical and underperforming corridor linking Watsonville to Santa Cruz. Our approach includes auxiliary lanes for Highway 1, consistent with our voter-approved expenditure plan. This is not a one-component transportation project. This is a multimodal, transformative project that provides the traveling public with sustainable transportation options, including bus transit and active transportation. The auxiliary lanes are a critical component of the overall program. Traffic that currently avoids the freeway and cuts through our neighborhoods will now have the incentive to use the freeway. This is diverted, not induced demand. Reducing traffic on our local roads will help them to safely function as complete streets. The mode switch from vehicles to clean bus transit, biking, or walking is what makes this full project a net VMT and greenhouse gas reducing project consistent with the goals of your funding programs and the governor's executive orders. The added safety benefits of the highway improvements include auxiliary lanes with continuous shoulders. We don't have continuous shoulders now. It will significantly improve the response time of our emergency vehicles and is critical to ensure that the highway can operate in an emergency evacuation. Considering severe weather events, earthquakes, and wildfires, the safe and efficient operation of Highway 1 is of the utmost importance to our region. This project has received unanimous support of our Regional Transportation Commission and has been of particular importance of our South County constituents, who are some of the most financially poorest in the state. These are some of the hardest working members of our community, but historically suffered from the lack of equitable access to transportation options, many of whom have no choice but to commute on the highway. It is sometimes hard for these members of our community to receive equal consideration for their needs. Let's ensure that their concerns are considered in the projects that we fund. On behalf of the Santa Cruz County RTC, I would like to thank the CTC staff and commissioners for your continued support for thoughtful and transformative projects, including the Watsonville to Santa Cruz multimodal corridor project, and I am available to answer any questions the commission may have.
Well, thank you so much for your very great explanation about the VMT reductions, which is going to be my question. Commissioners, do you have any questions? If not, we will pick up the motion by Martinez and seconded by Inman, as I believe that concludes public comment. Is that right, Justin?
Chair Norton, we do have more attendees indicating they wish to make public comment at this time. Just a reminder to attendees, please use the hand raise feature to indicate that you do wish to make comment at this time. Up next, we have Rick Longinati. Rick, you're free to unmute yourself and make your comment.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, commissioners. So we have an opportunity in our county to run buses in the on a bus-only lane between Watsonville and Santa Cruz. It only takes about 35 minutes for an express bus to make that trip from Watsonville to Santa Cruz when it's not a peak period. And that's really very competitive with automobiles if the bus were to have its own lane. Unfortunately, if these auxiliary lanes are built, we're not going to get that in our county. We're not going to get a bus on shoulder. We're going to get bus in auxiliary lanes that where, you know, buses will be mixed with other traffic. They'll be stuck in traffic during the peak periods. And, you know, your Caltrans representatives just clarified that the only bus lane portion is at the interchange. It's a very short, you know, 100 yards or less at those interchanges. So this is not really a bus on shoulder operation such as exists in Minneapolis and Atlanta and Cleveland and other cities. This is a misnomer called bus on shoulder in order to win approval. The EIR for this entire project, that 8.9 miles segment from Watsonville to Santa Cruz, was completed in 2019, and not a single mention of bus on shoulder in that entire document. So this has been an ornament added after the fact in order to win the approval, including the approval of your commission for funding. But it's really a dishonest move because it's not going to really benefit people who are relying on buses. It's not going to attract people out of their cars. Thank you.
Thank you. Next testimony.
Up next, we have Michael Saint. Michael, please unmute yourself and make your comment.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Chair Norton and Commissioners, for allowing time for public comments. My name is Michael Saint, Treasurer for CFST, Campaign for Sustainable Transportation, and an Aptos resident, and I live at what they call the choke point on SR1 in Santa Cruz County. I just have to totally agree with Mr. Longinetti's comments. I won't add to those for time's sake. And I do disagree with a few of the comments by Director Preston. I do have a few additional comments. I have spoken with several RTC commissioners, although Mr. Preston states that they are on board with this. Many of them had agreed that the aux lanes will fail in the not too distant future. Why hasn't this bus on shoulder hybrid system with cars not been tried before? I think basically that it is obvious that they will be sharing the congested freeway also in not too distant future, so the system will actually fail. I think why put this type of bus on system in with the widening project, like Mr. Longinetti stated? It was to get funding from state, period. It was not even considered to be part of the project previously. I would ask you that you please do not waste all of this millions of dollars for the aux lane project. It's taxpayer dollars, and it's also a project that will fail. A lot of this system is based on, this is a multimodal system and been sold that way. This is not entirely true. We have presently have very little walking, biking, and most of our transportation now is 80% automobiles. So being multimodal would mean a lot of this percentage of travel should be shared. This is not happening with the future multimodal transportation. If freeway widening works, then Los Angeles, San Jose, and other congested cities would presently have no congestion, because that's all we've done in the past. I hope you'll reconsider this, maybe take a little bit more time to get some information on the situation, but you're preventing a future generation and our children to experience mass transit and to get used to that type of transportation. We're kicking the rock down the road a little bit. I appreciate your time for public comment, and I vote that you would say no to this funding project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Justin, how many more people have been in line now for public comment?
Chair Norton, I see no other attendee at this time indicating they wish to make public comment either through a hand raise or through a submission of a written comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then we will close public comment on this item because there are two other items related to this that they can speak at. I would like to ask Director Gubbins to respond to some of the claims made about the data and to talk more about the multimodal component and what's in this new draft of the EIR regarding this project. And then we will go take a vote, as I see none of my colleagues have other questions. Director Gubbins?
Okay, thank you, Chair Norton. Yes, as I said in my earlier portion, there was an EIR written for the entire corridor that included HOV and a TS element that had ramp metering, other things. It did not have a bus on shoulder. And so one of the reasons that we did this final document that's before you today was written just so we could address some of those concerns. We added the bus on shoulder on this document. There's been references to others. So some of the statistics and everything else were in a totally separate document looking at that. This one was a standalone document, independent purpose and need. And so looking at that, we then were able to have the bus on shoulder. So some of the buses will be making stops. Even express buses need to pull over at some point. So they would be sharing the ramps. So the aux lanes lets everyone's ingress egress improve, reduces some of the friction, if you will, with the weaving section of people entering on and off. In addition to that, as Mr. Preston had mentioned, this includes a pedestrian overcrossing to tie the two sides of Route 1 so that people can use that without entering it. People can then use other modes and not have to use the highway. So for those reasons, we had done a separate standalone document just looking at this, and that is what is before you today. I hope that helps clarify.
It does very much. Thank you so much. I'm glad that was entered into the record. And now we have a motion on the table. Martinez and Inman supporting item 4. Douglas, could you please read the roll?
Commissioner Alvarado,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Eager,
Aye.
Commissioner Grisby, Commissioner Guardino,
Aye.
Commissioner Inman,
Aye.
Commissioner Kehoe,
Aye.
Commissioner Liu, Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Tavaloni,
Aye.
Chair Norton.
Aye.
Chair, the motion is approved.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to item 5, Gertej.
Thank you, Chair Norton. Commissioners, item 5 is an action item to allocate funds for 18 shop pre-construction support phases for PS&E and right-of-way in the amount of $22,923,000. The project phases requesting allocation are for 9 shop projects that received their future consideration of funding approval earlier in items 2 and 3. Commission staff has reviewed the 18 shop pre-construction project phases for PS&E and right-of-way and recommends approval.
Move support. This is Commissioner Guardino.
Thank you, Commissioner Guardino. We do have some items, people who wish to speak on this item. So was there a second to Commissioner Guardino's motion?
Second, Commissioner
Okay.
Inman.
Thank you, Commissioner Inman. We will hold that on the table while we take public comment. Justin, can you please allow public comment?
Thank you, Chair Norton. We have Bob Morgan. Please unmute yourself and make your comment at this time. Bob Morgan, you are unmuted and free to speak. Okay, well, that was the only attendee looking to make comment at this time. I see no other hands raised or comments submitted.
Thank you. And I see no other commissioners wishing to speak on this item. So Douglas, could you please read the roll on the Guardino-Inman motion to support item 5?
Commissioner Alvarado,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Eager,
Aye.
Commissioner Grisby, Commissioner Guardino,
Aye.
Commissioner Inman,
Aye.
Commissioner Kehoe.
Kehoe's an aye, sorry.
Thank you, Commissioner Liu, Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Tavaloni,
Aye.
Chair Norton.
Aye.
Chair, the motion is approved.
Thank you so much. Now we'll move on to item 6. Teresa?
Commissioners, item 6 is an action item. This is a STIP allocation for a locally administered STIP project on the state highway system. This allocation request of $1,850,000 for PS&E and right-of-way phases is for the State Route 1, State Park to Bay, Porter Auxiliary Lane in Santa Cruz County. Please note, this request includes a change in the implementing agency for the right-of-way phase from Caltrans to Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission. Staff has reviewed this request and finds it consistent with STIP guidelines and the program. Staff recommends your approval.
Thank you. Before we take a motion on this item, Justin, are there any public commenters wishing to speak on this item?
Mr. Chairman, we have one attendee with their, okay, the attendee lowered their hand. We have no public comment at this time.
Okay, and seeing that I have no commissioners who wish to speak and ask questions on this item, can we please have a motion on this item?
Avalone
Motion to
approved.
approve item. Sorry, you go ahead.
Tavaloni moved, Gardino second. Douglas, could you please read the roll?
Madam Chair, I think we had a last minute hand go up. Rick Longinati, did you want to comment on this? Rick Longinati, did you want to comment on this? We saw your hand go up briefly. I guess not. Okay. Bob Morgan, we see a hand up next to your name again, or is that Michael Saint?
And you've got this figured out now. We both have the same invitation. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think I just wanted to continue on with the same type of comments as I did in number 4. The issue is, it's kind of a sad time for us in Santa Cruz County. I was really hoping that we were much more progressive in our goals towards mass transportation. At some point, that's going to have to start. I mean, widening highways, as you know, doesn't work. And basically, I just want to make the comment that we need leaders with a vision to the future, not just some type of relief temporarily. And to take to heart California's climate goals, there's no way that this does not increase vehicle miles traveled or greenhouse gas emissions. You're going to bring people off of the side roads, which will fill up the freeway pretty quickly, and then invite people to join and do more trips. So those numbers are somewhat questionable. We need to help to mitigate the effects of climate change and not to add to the climate crisis. As I put in the comments, it's kind of a sad day for Santa Cruz County transportation future and hopes for a mass transit opportunity. There was also something mentioned about the social justice aspect. We're trying to get the people from Watsonville up to Santa Cruz County in the quickest way, most economical way and safest way. And having these buses just sitting in traffic eventually is not going to solve this problem. So the social justice equity portion is missing in this project. Sounds good initially. It's been painted up really well. And obviously it probably is going to pass, but just sad, just sorry. You know, I know you all worked very hard on all this stuff. I would say that was appreciated, but it's really not that appreciated. So good luck with future recommendations on widening highways. I hope you will eventually stop doing this. Thank you.
I'd like to speak before we take a motion. I'd like to ask Director Gubbins to speak on this issue, especially in the role of discussing the bus coordination and the fact that it is going to be moving people on mass transit, and whether or not we have the ability right now to convert lanes that aren't HOV lanes into express lanes and bus only lanes to mass transit based on federal responsibilities.
Yeah. Thank you. And you're right. There are federal rules about converting existing general purpose lanes into the transit only lanes. However, in this case, these portions of Route 1 only have 2 lanes in each direction already anyway. So that would not work in this case. So yes, the thought is to get people into buses. This will help with that. We cannot use existing infrastructure for 2 reasons. The shoulders are not very wide currently, and so they could not hold a vehicle at all. And also when they were built, the structural section was built very shallow to have the occasional shoulder use. So if there was just to be a bus on shoulder lane, it would be very similar to the amount of work and impacts that we're doing that would also include these auxiliary lanes.
Thank you. I just want to make it clear that we are actually moving towards what the governor is focused on and our own goals of moving people more efficiently in a freeway by getting them on mass transit. And so I truly appreciate your focus on reducing VMT and making the current freeway system more workable in limited space that you have. So thank you very much for your time. With that,
Chairwoman Norton, may I make a quick statement?
yes, Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the speakers, and I too agree. I don't believe in expanding highways, but you know, we can't let perfect get in the way of good. And I'll be the first to say, and I think those of you that have been on this commission, and the chairwoman articulated that we're moving towards a new story, but we currently have systems in place that don't allow us to move there that quickly. And it also has to start at the local level with land use and zoning. And until we're able to get our locals to address that issue, it becomes very difficult when we're dealing with federal and state guidelines, when we're dealing with transportation, when the locals are not stepping up to do their jobs. And so I just hope as we move forward collectively that we continue to push and realize that we have to focus on land use and zoning if we really want to make an impact in transportation in the near future. So thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Martinez. We have some additional public comment according to Justin, so could you please assist?
Up first, we have Rick Longinati.
Hi, yeah, thank you once again, commissioners. Thank you. I think what I've heard Commissioner Martinez and Commissioner Norton talk about the values that we share, getting people on transit. But the problem is, and this is all documented by the environmental impact report, and you can ask the Caltrans officials who are present on this meeting, just how many riders this express bus service will attract, how many additional riders as it's stuck in the auxiliary lanes. I wish you folks could visit Santa Cruz County because we already have one auxiliary lane, and the buses are stuck in that lane along with the traffic in these peak periods. Your intentions are really good, but this is not a question of a good project that's not perfect. It's a bad project. It's a project that gets in the way of what needs to happen. When the legislature passed bus on shoulder authorization for our county, they had in mind bus on the shoulder, a bus in its own lane on the shoulder of the highway, and that's not what's happening here. So I encourage you to postpone your decision on this so you could just look at the facts, because I think we have the same values. Thank you.
Director Gubbins, is there anything else you'd like to add to the presentation regarding this item and the goals of moving people onto buses and what that's going to do to move people in the auxiliary lanes faster through this new EIR?
Right. Thank you for that. As I had mentioned, some of the references are to a separate document that looked at a lot of different alternatives and not what we're talking about today. And so we've been working very closely with Santa Cruz RTC as well as Metro to get the buses able to be working on here. And so I believe we all share the same goals. It's just there are some differences of opinion, but we think there could be the document said up to 310 vehicles a day would be diverted to a bus.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your input. Commissioners, do you have any other questions? If not, we will go back to the motion on the table. Tavaloni and Gardino. Hearing none. Douglas, could you please read the roll?
Madam Chair, I think we have a couple more folks with their hands raised.
Okay.
Sorry
Two more
about the
attendees.
miscommunication.
Okay, thank you. Justin, would you like to read those?
We first have yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We first have a written comment that comes from Bob Morgan. He writes, the auxiliary lane and bus on shoulder combination will not work. The bus will be caught in traffic. We have Joe Jordan with his hand raised. Joe, you are unmuted and free to speak.
Good, thanks. Yeah, I just want to double down on the challenge to the director and anybody else on this meeting or anywhere to prove or even show convincing evidence that the following statement is not correct. that following statement being that, yeah, this is a bad project because it actually precludes the possibility ever of an effective express bus system. It's a screwed up way of approaching buses. It'll never work, and it's going to make things worse, and it's a huge waste of money. Prove me wrong. Convince me. Okay, sorry. Thanks.
Next commenter.
Up next, we have, the name is written as Bob Morgan, but we do have 3 attendees at this time with that moniker, so I will unmute Bob, and you're free to unmute yourself and make a comment. It is either Bob Morgan or Michael Saint.
Yeah, I'll go since I didn't hear anyone. And Michael Saint, once again, I just wanted to respond to Mr. Govins' comment about alternatives were studied. Actually, this bus on shoulder dedicated to just bus on shoulder was not studied. And there is presently a lawsuit litigation pending because of that. We have sued Caltrans. So just wanted to throw that out there and try to get everything, honestly presented, and hopefully you'll take that into consideration as well as maybe delaying this project. Thank you.
Okay. Director Gubbins, just one more question back to you regarding the request for delay and what the impact would be if there was delay at this time.
Yes, and the item 6 in front of you is for the design of the project that you just accepted the FEIR on. And so any delay to this would just delay the implementation of the whole corridor. And the corridor improvements that we're talking now on the freeway, as Mr. Preston of RTC had mentioned, do complement RTC's overall vision and plan for the region and how they're tying all their multimodal in. This is a project, but there's a larger program of projects that will work together. He may want to speak more towards that as he did earlier, but I think that's the key, that we're looking at an individual project in that larger program.
Okay, I'm aware that we have, thank you very much, Director Gubbins. I'm aware that we have one more public comment.
Yes, thank you, Chair Norton. Bob Morgan.
Yes, thank you very much. I was confused about the muting and unmuting. I again want to thank the commissioners, and particularly Commissioner Martinez for her comments about local control, and Commissioner Norton. I do disagree with some of the things that Mr. Preston has said and Mr. Gubbins. I do, as I mentioned, live within the project borders here. I currently drive on Highway 1. I oftentimes use the auxiliary lane that was put in 10 years ago. During peak traffic times, these lanes are congested. They are stop and go. The auxiliary lane that was put in previously in the early 2000s is not effective. I also would disagree that this one piece of an overall plan is something which has been integrated well into the overall plan. It is the largest, most expensive, and most decisive piece of this plan. I wish that there had been as much energy and money and planning put into true multimodal modes. For example, emphasizing a better budget for our metro system, a better bike infrastructure, a better pedestrian infrastructure. There are pieces of that in this overall program, but they're minuscule compared to this widening project, which, as other commenters have mentioned, will be ineffective. I do drive, as I mentioned, Highway 1 in this particular area. The auxiliary lanes that are there now are not effective. The EIR has stated the auxiliary lanes will be ineffective. VMT will increase. So I would urge the commission to delay, to study the components more, to study the EIR more, and let's put this off instead of continuing to invest in these kinds of projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe public comment is now closed. And Is that true, Justin? We are done. People have all had a chance to speak and some have spoken more than once. Public comment is now closed, yes?
Yes, Chair Norton, thank you. It is closed at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have no commissioners who wish to speak? Thank you. We have the motion from Tavaloni and seconded by Gardino. Douglas, could you please read the roll?
Commissioner Alvarado,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Eager,
Aye.
Commissioner Grisby, Commissioner Guardino,
Aye.
Commissioner Inman, Commissioner Kehoe,
Aye.
Commissioner Liu, Commissioner Martinez, Commissioner Martinez, Commissioner Tavaloni,
Aye.
Chair Norton.
Aye.
Chair, the motion is approved.
Thank you very
Aye
much.
from Inman. Sorry, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Commissioner Inman. With that, our last item is item 7, Matthew Yasgott.
Thank you, Chair Norton. And for whatever reason, my camera is giving me some trouble. So I apologize about that, and I will present my item regardless. So thanks, Chair Norton, and good afternoon, Commissioners. Tab 7 is an action item to approve a multi-funded Solutions for Congested Corridors program and STIP allocation with a state-administered 41st Avenue to Soquel Avenue auxiliary lanes, bus on shoulder, and Chanticleer bike and pedestrian bridge project on the state highway system in Santa Cruz County. This allocation request is for $23,507,000 from the Cycle 2 Solutions for Congested Corridors program and $6,835,000 from the STIP, a total allocation of $30,342,000. This project has met all CEQA requirements, and the request is consistent with the Solutions for Congested Corridors program and its guidelines, as well as the STIP program and its guidelines. Staff recommends your approval of tab 7.
Thank you very much. Matthew and Mr. Anderson from Caltrans, is there any information beyond what we've already discussed in our previous items on this matter that you wish to add to this discussion today?
Chair Norton, I can just say, and when we programmed the Watsonville to Santa Cruz multimodal corridor back in December in the Congested Corridors program and the local partnership program, that this project was considered as a whole and evaluated as a whole. The comprehensive multimodal corridor plan that was submitted with this project does, to Director Gubbins and Director Preston, indicate a greater vision for a multimodal passage through this corridor. And so the suite of projects that we recommended in congested corridors and local partnership, we do felt evaluated very well through our programs, and as a whole do meet the multimodal requirement of the Solutions for Congested Corridors program. So at this time, I wouldn't add anything additional other than the multimodal corridor plan for this project was reviewed and indicated to be of very high quality. And I can recommend approval of this allocation of the first contract of 3 components of this project.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Norton and members of the commission. This is James Anderson with Caltrans, and I'd just like to say that Caltrans has no further comment and recommends approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Justin, is there any public comment on item 7?
Chair Norton, I see no attendee indicating they wish to make public comment at this time.
Okay, and commissioners, are there any who wish to speak on this item?
Motion to approve, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Second, Eager.
Thank you. So we have a motion, Davis, seconded by Eager. Douglas, could you please read the roll?
Commissioner Alvarado,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Eager,
Aye.
Commissioner Grisby,
There you go.
Commissioner Guardino,
Aye.
Commissioner Inman,
Aye.
Commissioner Kehoe,
Aye.
Commissioner Liu, Commissioner Martinez? Commissioner Tavaloni?
Aye.
Chair Norton?
Aye.
Chair, the motion is approved.
Thank you. I believe that completes our agenda for today. Is there any public comment for our overall agenda?
Thank you, Chair Norton. I asked one attendee, Michael Saint, is indicating that they wish to make public comment at this time. Michael, you are now unmuted and free to speak. Please unmute yourself and make your comment.
Can you hear me, Chair Norton?
I can.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate all the time you've given myself, especially to the other public commenters, and all the hard work everyone does. One of the other things on the multimodal project that maybe you're not informed about is our rail plans have taken a bit of a back seat and have been delayed for who knows how long. We know we have one corridor of any significance for a successful mass transit system. And of course, that would be the present State Route 1. And we feel it just will work very well with mass transit if it's a dedicated bus system. I also, if I may be so bold, I do see a comment down at a lot of the pages on your agenda here. And I was wondering if I could be so bold to add something maybe in the future to that comment. It's kind of a slogan that you have at the bottom. And it's the slogan you have, says, provide a safe and reliable transportation network that serves all people, respects the environment, and I'd like to add, and is sustainable for future generations. That might encompass more of a progressive and more of a mass transit type of future goal. Thank you for your time. You all have a wonderful day. Enjoy your vacations in July.
Thank you very much for that suggestion. I appreciate your input and we'll take that under advisement. Are there any other public comments at this time, Justin?
And Norton, I see no other attendee at this time indicating they wish to make public comment.
Okay. I don't believe that we have any adjourning motions. So for now, our meeting is adjourned.